This is MRN Crew Call, brought to you by Hercules Tires.
The Florida Tour continues. Daytona 500 is done. Daytona Road Course is done. This week, we head to Homestead Miami Speedway for the Florida Trifecta. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network. One of the things when we laid this show out a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the interesting people in the garage area of NASCAR. You could almost make a sitcom of the people in the garage area. Well, Netflix has done it. The Crew is the Netflix sitcom. Kevin James is the lead actor in it. His name on the show is Kevin Gibson. Well, there's another Gibson that we're more familiar with, Tony Gibson. He's the 2017 winning championship crew chief for the Daytona 500, and he consulted with Kevin James on The Crew. So that's what we're going to talk to. We're going to talk to Tony Gibson, old man, here on Crew Call.
For decades, Dryden Lubricants has been made in America and made to last, paving the way on our highways, in our fields, and on the production line. Today, Dryden offers a complete line of engine oils, greases, hydraulic and transmission fluids, and diesel exhaust fluid. If you want greater performance and protection for your critical engines and equipment, go to Dryden.com. Dryden, American owned and operated, and a proud supporter of racing and race fans everywhere.
Kevin, I'm curious, who have you been talking to in terms of crew chiefs to get a feel for what you want to go with and drivers? We saw the trailer, of course, with a couple drivers in it, but who have you been talking to try to get your arms around this project?
It's been Tony Gibson, who I based my name off of. Kevin, we gave him that because he's been such a great ally. He's been so helpful in helping me, and he came on set and he would just call BS when he saw it, and he's like, "This would never," and knowing that it's also a show that's got a, so it's like he knew the exact line to draw and be like, this is what it would be like, and he's been teaching me so much about the aspects of all of it, about assembling the team and what you got to do as a leader, and it's just such a cool thing for me to be part of. And I was actually able to go down to a race with him and watch them go through the whole thing where they put the car and the lasers and all that, and they test the measurements of everything. And it's insane. People don't know that what goes into this stuff. And, so it's just, we've been doing the research. I've watched, Richard Petty's son, Kyle. I've been watching Coffee with Kyle. I've been watching him do interviews with all these old racers. And it's like, man, you learn so much. And it's just exciting. It's just a world I didn't know about, but I'm learning more and more about, and it's incredible. It's fun.
That is Motor Racing Network's Woody Kane with Kevin James, star of The Crew. Well, maybe Kevin James is star of The Crew. Maybe the star of The Crew, as far as we're concerned with NASCAR, is our crew chief, Tony Gibson. Hey, old man, what's going on?
How y'all doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you. This project you were on, as a matter of fact, the crew member's name, Kevin James's name is Kevin Gibson. He even stole your last name on this deal, old man.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We went up there to hang out for a few days, and while they were doing some of the, getting started with some of the scenes and kind of getting everything up and running, and so they wanted some input on just what it's like to be, at the shop as a crew chief, on the road, things that happen, and they were at Homestead, last year, and kind of went through the inspection line with NASCAR and kind of the ins and outs, and to help them get a better understanding of, what our sport's about and what it takes. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool to go up there. And, actually we got there and they didn't have a whole lot set up, to be honest with you, in the shop. They had some cars in there, but they needed help, like, setting up where the toolboxes needed to go and cars and kind of how a shop was laid out, those kind of things. So, they're working with really small areas, believe it or not, when it looks big on TV, but they're really small areas that they do these shots in. So it was interesting to try to help kind of orchestrate a little bit of the layout of the scenes and the layout of the shop itself. And it was walking around and they were picking my brain. And, the whole time we're doing this, I'm trying to understand what they're doing, because it was interesting to me to see too how much money went into to making something for 5 seconds, and then seeing how it all comes together. And and how that whole deal operates. It was pretty amazing.
It is. It amazed me listening to Kevin James. He's done some interviews over the course of time since the show came out. He seems to have a real passion to get in character and to understand it. It seemed like he really must have picked your brain a fair amount on that.
Yeah, he did, and we were on the phone quite a bit before we actually met, and before we went to Homestead. And then while we were at Homestead, we spent quite a bit of time that whole day on race day in the motorhome talking about things and trying to get him up to speed. And like I said before, just going through the garage and seeing how our day starts and how our day ends on a race day. And I think they were overwhelmed at actually what goes on in our world. And like I said, from that point on, it was pretty much every day in touch with those guys, either on the phone and then once we got to a certain point where they needed me up there, they flew me and my wife up to New York, and yeah, it was pretty cool to hang out with those guys. And like I said before, it's Kevin James is just, no matter, he's funny doing anything, right? His facial expressions and they're just crazy, and we laugh the whole time. And to be honest with you, watching them do this, they have little scripts they go by, and the writers are in there writing stuff, and you can tell he'll like get to a point to where this is frustrating. I'm just going to do my thing, and then he would start doing his thing, and then everybody's laughing in there because you can't control it, right? He's time to be me, and he's an hilarious guy, but a fun guy and a super nice guy to be around. We got to spend some really good time, just hanging out in his place there. In the Netflix complex there, he has like a house inside that city block building, where he has his own bedroom. It's just like a house inside this building. So there was a little lounge area in there. So after they would go into a scene, the writers would stop and go off in their little room and start working on what they needed to change. And then he would say, "Come on, let's go." And we would go in his little office, and they were smoking big old cigars and eating. And it was just so much fun to be personal with a guy like that, and to be honest with you, man, he's just like me and you. We started talking about hunting and fishing and the things that I was passionate of doing, and then, he would open up and talk about the things that, his family and what they love to do. And so it was to be one-on-one and kind of get on ground level with somebody like that was pretty amazing. And all the writers and those guys have done, some huge movies, and to be sitting in a room with those guys, just shooting the crap with those guys was pretty amazing. It's something I'll never forget.
It strikes me, Tony, that we have these huge motorsports complexes, Stewart Haas Racing, Hendrick Motorsports, these huge complexes to put one race car on the track for one race. There's probably a lot of comparisons with the huge movie facilities, as you say, to put 5 seconds or to put one 30-minute show together.
It's insane. The amount of work and the hours that they would work. We would get there at around 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and they were already there getting started, getting their things together and getting ready to start. And then, we would leave, me and my wife would leave around 8 or 9 that night. And those guys would stay there and work till midnight, 1 o'clock on getting ready, what needed to be changed to start the next day. So they're long hours. I'm telling you, I was amazed at the hours that they put in to just do something that's, like you said, for a 5-minute deal, was just incredible. And the amount of talent of the people that built the sets and lay everything out, and how they had to scramble to get from this room to this room, how organized it was, getting cameras here, cameras there, and having it ready so that he could walk out of one scene into another scene. And it's incredible. It was eye-opening to me. To be able to spend 3 days in his world.
So, how did the shows come out? I mean, you've watched the final edition and everything like that. What kind of stands out to you after being on the making of the sausage and then eating the sausage, if you will?
Well, it just come out there on Monday there. So I started out. I saw the first two
Yep.
drops on Monday, and I watched another one last night. I had a radio show to do, and that lasted till like 9:30. So we got on Netflix, and I watched the third the third setting, and it's scary. Of a lot of it is my life, like me. They took a lot of the stories of me, how I got going and through the sport, and it's a lot about just an old redneck crew chief, and he gets into this world of engineering, and it's me. It's man. We were watching them do these scenes. Me and my wife were standing right there while they're doing the scenes and doing all the practice stuff, and she looked at me and she said, "This thing's about you. Like, this is your life." So yeah, watching this stuff, was there was a lot of things that are in it, that remind me of me coming up, and getting to where I am today. So that's pretty cool to watch, and it was pretty neat for them to include me in that. And um, you know, um, my wife Beth, so she's pretty pumped because the lead lady is Beth. So her first name, my last name. So we were pretty pumped about that. But I love the show so far. It's been funny. I sent Kevin a text after I saw the very first the first drop, the first episode. I texted him and I said, "Hey man, look what I'm watching," and he said, "Man, how did that do?" He texted me back. He said, "How do you think? How did that do?" And I said, "Man, you were horrible." I said, "I said you did terrible. Can't believe it turned out this bad." He's like, "What? What? Are you serious?" But we had a good time texting back and forth about it. And yeah, I text him after every episode, let him know what I think, and he texts me back, and can't wait till the next one. And it's been a blast. I mean, just we're trying to watch one a night. Because I go to bed early. I mean, it's 8:30. I'm done. So me and my wife try to watch at least one of them a night, and until we get all 10 of them in.
What strikes me about what I've seen of it, and I watched a little bits and pieces of the crew, the characters and the personalities, the different people, and you're like, no, there's no way, no, there's no way. And then I think about it, and it's like, we have just as many of those characters and personalities in our life. And when you look at your career, you probably ran into every one of those characters multiple times.
Every one of them, and still do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, man, that happened. I've had that. That character right there is, I know a guy like that, or I've been around a guy like that. Yeah. And so that's what makes it funny, right? It's crazy. Not only, it's kind of like the King of Queens. It took you a while to realize that he was a UPS driver, right? Because he's so funny that you pay so much attention to him that you're like, was he in a locker room at a UPS store? But now with the NASCAR deal, it seems like they've integrated a lot more of our sports, like racetrack scenes and cars and drivers and media people in this show that's bringing more of that out than I noticed in King of Queens. So it seems like they've upped their game about giving NASCAR and us some love, in this one.
I find that amazing. I remember, and you'll probably remember this, when they were doing Herbie the Love Bug movie, and they had the car on the track for the start of the race at Auto Club. And I actually had that into pit road. So I actually went down there and could have called the pit stop. I love when the real world gets together with Hollywood and everything. It's really fascinating how they put that all together.
It is, no different than Days of Thunder and stuff.
Right.
Seeing how that went was, last week was incredible. I was in the sport, digging hard in the sport, but you never really realized how much different people influenced that movie, and how much of all that stuff is real. It's real things that happened. And watching the crew, it's the same thing. That really happens. Yeah, that happens. That guy says that. Yeah, that guy does that. It's pretty cool. I like I said, I enjoyed it. Last night was probably the funniest episodes. I won't spoil it for who hadn't been watching, but some of the scenes in there that really touched my life. Some of the things he took out of my life and plugged in there is pretty funny to watch. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
That is amazing. That is so cool. So cool. That's for sure. Tony, going into the real NASCAR world, not the crew NASCAR world. When we look at you're the production manager there. So you're the shop foreman, the floor manager. You're the guy that gets everything to Rodney and to Booga and to everybody else. And you're the one that does that. We're 10 months into this life with no practice, no qualifying. What have we learned? What's it been like? How has that altered what NASCAR shop life is like?
Well, it's a lot different on our side, and COVID changed more than just what happens at the racetrack, right? It changed how we perform at the shop, and we work on split shifts. We don't have a lot of people in the shop at one time, so we try to regulate the amount of body count in our building in a small space. So working with that and getting the right people in here and making everybody happy. Everybody wants to be in here working all the time, but we can't do that obviously with COVID. So that's been a little bit of a struggle. But we've adapted. It took a little while, but everybody kind of adapted to the split shifts, and we're fair. We flip the guys, back and forth, and so that's been probably one of our biggest hurdles here is just managing of the people and trying to keep everybody happy and get the work done, right? So it is tough, but one of the things as far as prepping cars for the track, it's just so the details have to be done here now, right? So when they leave, they hit the racetrack. That's all they do is come off the truck, go right in line for inspection, and then race. So from us making sure that the templates fit and making sure that the OSS passes when they get there, and all those little details that have to be, we can't miss one now, right? Before they would have practice, they had a couple practices and then qualifying and then practice, 2 more practices. There was time to find little things. If you had a problem, you could fix it. If your car wasn't right, you could fix it. We don't have that anymore, right? So the amount of detail that we have to do now before we load these cars is incredible. It's insane because we can't afford to make a mistake anymore. And you see it in a lot of cars. Some guys unload and they're wicked fast and and they win races but they've paid attention to details and they've got great people that have bought into this. And it's what we do. So, we nobody wanted this. We were dealt this, right? So whoever complies to it and adjusts to it is going to come out on top. And, we had a great year last year. We won a ton of races on the Xfinity and the Cup side. And so, I felt like we did our job. I felt like at Stewart-Haas Racing, everybody here did their job to go out and win those kind of that amount of races and be a threat every week with all of our cars and to take a rookie, go out and win a race with a rookie team and everything is pretty impressive. So I think, I give Stewart-Haas an A, for what we did and what we overcome. So we got to do the same thing again, right? But we got to do it better. We didn't win the big show, right? We won the normal point seasons championship, but we didn't win the final one. So we got some work to do on that. We gotta take the things we did wrong and apply them and make ourselves better. So that's what we've been focused on since Phoenix was over last year is, we're going to be dealt with these same situations. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And let's try to correct those and keeping everybody happy while you're doing that is tough. It's a tough job. It's not an easy job at all. It's harder than crew chiefing. When you're crew chiefing a car, you have, about 22 guys that you have to manage. You're worried about one car. Now I got to worry about 4 cars and 300 and some people. So it's difficult. It's hard to, the people side of this is really tough. That's the tough part is treating everybody fairly and treating everybody and motivating people. Everybody has different buttons to push or don't want to push, and you got to wiggle your way around that. And that's been the biggest challenge for me since I came off the road. It's making everybody happy and making guys that don't like one another work together. So it's been hard, but I enjoy it. I love it. I'm still hands on. I get to work with the crew chiefs every day, and I get to touch the cars every day, in all aspects of it, so from the chassis building to when the bodies are put on, body shop, finish fab, the Hawkeye. I mean, until the thing gets pushed in the truck, I'm fortunate enough to be able to put my hands on it and be involved. So it's a lot of fun.
Tony, I love your story so much, and it goes back to the family team down in Florida, 1978 track champion at New Smyrna, and then you had the Alan Kulwicki era, and then over to Junior Johnson's and Hendrick and DEI and all of that. And I tell all of that story, and you talk about being such a hands-on guy. We look at the culture in the world in 2021, simulation and engineering. Did you ever see it becoming that important in the sport? And then, like Kevin James struggles with technology, how has it been for you to get your arms around that technology?
I kind of, to believe it or not, I saw this coming when I was with Alan Kowicki. Alan was a mechanical engineer, right? So I seen this coming. I seen, you don't really believe in, and you don't buy into it, but being around Ray Everham, when Ray came over to Alan's over there, I'd been there a while, and Ray came, and those were two very, very intelligent guys, and they were two smart guys that just kind of butted heads, right? But they were both just as smart as the other one was. But I knew where our sport was headed, and I didn't know that it would come this quick, but I knew it was heading in that direction. And then when Alan, like I said, we weren't engineers, right? We were just redneck working kids that worked on a car, but he taught us a lot about the engineering side of things, and helped us kind of get started with understanding why, and why the sport's going to go this way. And is it better? Is it worse? I don't know, but it's the way it's heading. So you either have to adapt. And for me, I adapted well. I realized it was going that way. And as things got pushed further and further into that way, I was fortunate enough to hook myself up with some good engineers, even over at DEI. That were with me and are still with me now. Johnny's was my engineer for 15 years. And so, I used Johnny, and AJ Mergen over at Hendricks. He was an engineer for mine too. So I used those guys for what I didn't know on the engineering side of things, and they used me for my racing experience that I had. I've seen it. If it happens, I've seen it. And whether it's bad or good, I've seen it. So it kind of worked for us. We clicked, and I believed in what they believed in, and they believed in what I believed in, and we didn't buck the system. So, we were fortunate to I'm one of the last old dinosaur crew chiefs to stay in there. When Jimmy Finning got out, I was the last one left, and I lasted a long time. But I think it's because I accepted it and wanted to make the best out of it. And I love my sport. I love racing. I love NASCAR racing, and if you're going to survive, you have to learn how to adapt to it. And, I felt like I did a pretty good job at adapting. And 2017, I'd already kind of made my mind up that, I got grandkids coming, and then, you win the Daytona 500. That was the nail. That was it. I'm like, okay, now I'm done. That's one thing I wanted to get accomplished, to win that race as a crew chief. I've won it before as a car chief, but to win that, that was it. That put the staple on it. And I'd made up my mind then. Then it was all about getting Johnny ready the rest of that season, knowing that in 18 he was going to do that job. So it's been a cool ride, and I love it, and still love it now.
Do you miss race morning or climbing on the pit box, being the crew chief at times? Do you miss that?
I do. When I'm at home, I have all my radio stuff going, and I'm texting back and forth all the crew chiefs, and they're texting me, and whether it's something we got to work on, or I'm sending them things that I see at the racetrack, or on TV, and so I do miss that that nervous gut feeling as a crew chief that you get right before they fire them up. You're sitting there thinking, how's this day going to end? Is this going to be my day? And do I do everything right? Please let me do everything right. Don't let me make a mistake. That's the part I miss. But I still get nervous, but I get nervous for all our teams, all four of them, because I want to see them do good, and I want to see our company do well. But I do miss it. I miss that part of it, and I miss the people side of it. Seeing you guys and talking with the media and in the NASCAR officials. We're one big family, right? So I miss that part of it more than anything.
I love that you mentioned the NASCAR officials because it is a unique relationship that you as a crew chief have with NASCAR officials. You can be 1 minute leaning up against a stack of tires, laughing and telling a joke, and the next minute in the heat of battle, you are literally chewing them out. And I hate that we no longer have officials in every pit because some of my favorite moments are watching you crew chiefs and officials interact. It's like Earl Weaver or Billy Martin. That relationship with the crew chief and official, that is an amazing relationship because at the end of the day, you're kind of still family as well.
Yeah, we are, and a lot of the officials that have retired, either right after I did or right before, or even 15 years ago, we're still good friends. We're on Facebook together, and I follow those guys, they follow me, and even officials now that are still doing it, but, like Bradley's moved over to the truck series as the director of the truck series, and I used to fight with Bradley all the time. On the cup side, argue. And, but, that's all. When that's over, it's over. When the race was over, the next week, everything's fine. You're best buds again. You're talking to one another and texting them on the phone or calling them, asking them a question. And to be honest with you, they're the same way, right? We're a family. We're going to argue. Brothers argue all the time. And, so yeah, those guys they have a hard job too, right? My job is to cheat. Their job is to catch me. We can't have one without the other. So, it would be one-sided, right? They wouldn't have a job if we didn't have guys that want to cheat. There would be no need for inspectors. And if they didn't have guys that cheat, we wouldn't need them. So it's part of everything that we go through. It's no different than football, baseball. It's all the same, but you have to, they have a job to do and you have to respect it. And we're all here to put a show on for the public. So yeah, it's cool to see those old guys that retired, and the things that they're doing, and whether it's other jobs or just hanging out with their family and doing things, it's fun to see them.
We have a second channel with MRN. Alex Hayden was on pit road for a long time, and myself. And there'd be times where I'd have your pit or Alex would have your pit and something would happen. And I'd get on the radio and say, Alex, what's going on here? Says, oh, Tony Gibson is chewing this guy out, And it's just, it's part of the sport that it's because it's the passion, Tony. This when you were a little kid in Daytona Beach, Florida, and your brother was racing, man, this thing, if you didn't have the passion for it, this would be a terrible job if you didn't have a passion for it.
Yeah. That's what drives you, right? That's what keeps you going is your passion for whatever you're doing. And mine is racing. And I was passionate about it. I cared about my guys. I cared about my car or our fans. And when things aren't going your way, and whether it was a bad pit stop, I'd chew those guys just like, anybody else. But at the end of the day, that they know that I was passionate. I wanted them to feel the same way. And so, like it goes back to, like I said, DEI. I still have, there's still 9 guys that work here, actually 10, that came with me back in 2008 here to Stewart Haas. So, I don't think they hate me that much. They must have liked something to stick with me this long. But, I treat people fair, and I treat people like I want to be treated. I can take criticism just like the next guy, and I've had them yell at me just like I yell at them, but I take it. It's all part of it. So yeah, it's a passionate sport, and just like anything in any professional sport, if you love it that much and it engulfs your life like that, then you better be passionate.
One of the neat things that I love about Tony is that we live in the same vicinity. COVID has kind of altered probably our pizza eating habits and everything. We have the same pizza shop, we have the same grocery store and everything, but I haven't had a chance. And usually we get a chance to talk. How is the family? How are the grandkids? How's everything at home? Good?
Everything's really good. Yeah, I don't see as much down there at the food line or over at Rosario's, or the little Chinese restaurant, the pizza place right there at the little shopping center. But everything's been good. The grandkids are growing up. Luke will be 4 this year, and Libby's 2, and my new little grandson Oliver, he'll be 7 months. So things are flying by, and getting older, man. We're getting old. So yeah, and I see all my friends, that. My racing friends. I was looking at Luke Lambert. His kids are growing up so fast. I can remember when they were just born. And seeing Ryan Newman's girls are just. I can remember Beth babysitting while Chrissy and Ryan were off doing something. When Ryan was driving for us, they were just a little baby, and now they're growing up. And it's but everybody's been good. My family's been good. My mom lives in Georgia on Lake Sinclair down there, and next to my brother Mark. And so everything's going good. I can't complain at all, man.
I usually start our conversations with what I'll end it with. Have you been doing much fishing? How are they biting? Are you chasing the fish around, or you?
Well, I was, but we've had so much rain that the lakes are so muddy that I don't mind fishing in the cold, but when the water's just so muddy, the fish get real finicky, and I haven't been as much as I'd like to over the wintertime, but I have been a little bit. I went hunting a couple times. That was fun. And, COVID kind of put a cramp on everything, the traveling and what you can do. It kind of slowed everything down a little bit, but I tried to get out and do as much as I could. And fishing's one thing. When COVID hit, fishing's one thing that I could go out by myself and not bother anybody and not have to wear a mask. That's what I enjoyed about fishing.
Social distancing, that's for sure. Out on the lake, no doubt. Tony, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. I love catching up, and I seriously love that this is somewhat your story with the crew. Folks, you can catch it on Netflix. You can download all 10 episodes and watch it. Appreciate the time, my friend, and wishing you the best as we go forward. Thanks for joining us here on Crew Call.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it, guys. And just call me, man. I enjoy these times. I miss the times I was on your show, and I miss those times. It's fun to reminisce and talk about things and get caught up on with everybody. So hope you'll have me on again.
There he is, Tony Gibson, not Kevin Gibson from the crew. Tony Gibson joining us here on Crew Call.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Love catching up with old man Tony Gibson, one of my favorite people in the garage area. Again, you can catch The Crew. It's on Netflix, and it's not old school like I used to do must-see Tuesday night where you had to wait the next week. In 2021, you can download a whole season, so all 10 episodes are right there. You can binge watch or pick and choose when you want to watch the shows. The show for NASCAR is headed to Homestead Miami Speedway this weekend. NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, NASCAR Cup Series on Sunday. When we look at the Cup Series, it is going to be fun to watch this play out from a pit road strategy standpoint. Tires will wear. It's Homestead. The fuel windows, well, the stage lengths are 80 laps apiece and then 107 laps. The fuel window somewhere in the high 50s. So there's going to have to be a pit stop in the middle of it. Pit stops, fuel, tires. Oh, man, it's a pit reporter's dream down there, watching these smart crew chiefs make the decisions that's going to take to win the big races. You can follow along on Motor Racing Network all weekend long. We have on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock, the Contender Boats 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and Sunday at 2:30 Eastern Time, the Dixie Vodka 400 for the Cup Series. A big, big weekend. You can go to MRN.com, catch all the programming, and really all of your NASCAR news you can get at www.mrn.com. So happy we had the chance to catch up with Tony Gibson. Great to talk to him. Great to see this new little mini chapter in his life with the crew, the Netflix series, and also good to catch up with him on life in general in the NASCAR world. So thanks to Tony, but more important than all of that, thank you for joining us here this week on Crew Call.